This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hey guys, welcome back to Breaking Banks Europe. My name is Matteo Rizzi. I'm the executive producer of the show. This is a series dedicated to the Milan Fintech Summit that is going to take place in a little more than a month. And today we're talking embedded finance with Paolo Zaccardi, CEO of Fabric. Paolo, welcome back to Breaking Banks.
Thank you, Matteo. Hi, everybody.
So Paolo was with us 3 years ago. And then we have a newbie, Nicolas Benady, CEO of Swan. Nico, welcome to Breaking Banks Europe.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me.
So this is a sneak peek on a panel that is going to happen, I believe, on the 8th of October, talking about embedded finance. We're going to have more guests in that panel. But today, together with Paolo and Nicola, we're going to talk a little bit on a broader scale on what embedded finance is, it represents for the fintech industry, but as well something else that might surprise you. Paolo, let's start with a short intro about yourself. We do the same with Nico, and then we talk a little bit about the broad embedded finance space. Over to you, Paolo.
Thank you, Matteo. Well, very simple. My background comes from payments and banking for a very long time. We know each other in that space. But back to Fabric, we founded Fabric in 2018 with the idea to promote it, to embrace something very new, something very, in our mind, revolutionary in that space. So how to move from vertical solutions and applications to platform model. So has many other digital industries. So Fabric, it's an open finance platform, very general concept, but in practice, we combine different kind of services in the same platform, and we deliver this value through API. So we combine, for example, open banking services, access to account, payment initiation, credit scoring based on data, and so on, with digital payments like cards, multi-methods, hundreds of methods of payments, with also orchestrating capabilities. That means if you need to integrate lending with payments or insurance with payments, we do it. So in very nutshell, it's the concept of embedded finance realized in a platform. So that's our mission. And we do it for businesses, in particular for mid to large businesses. And we will speak about that.
Great, thank you, Paolo. A pioneer. We have two oldies and a newbie. I want to be, even if you're not exactly look like a student, Nico. So tell us a little bit about your background and Swan. I love the name, by the way.
Thank you. So hi, I'm Nicolas Benady. I'm CEO at Swan. I've been in the payment industry for almost 20 years now. I started my career as an engineer, but first I'm an entrepreneur. This is the third time I'm co-founding a startup. And the two first one have been acquired, and this is not what I want for Swan. I want Swan to be here for the long run. So what Swan does, we do it a bit like companies like Revolut, Conto. We build accounts, cards, and IBANs. The only thing is to open a Swan account, you won't download the Swan app. We are behind the scene. We are white label. And so any company can create for their own customer accounts, IBANs, and cards with their own logo, MasterCard cards with their own logo. So with Swan, any company can become a fintech in a way. With a couple of developers, you can embed banking features into a product, and so yes, this is called a banking as a service platform. But I think we have enabled the embedded finance market in the European Union because we tried to build a platform that is really simple to use and really fast to implement. And so, this is what we tried to do as well.
Actually, yes, you implicitly did a segue to what I wanted to talk about a bit later. So let's start with the following. In several presentations that even myself I have done in the past, when I talk about embedded finance, there were basically two informations, right? The first one is that globally, that was a market supposed to grow exponentially, and we saw different numbers. So I believe the last slide I remember without having it in front of me was from 2020 to 2025, almost a sevenfold or eightfold growth, in billions. Okay, so that was the first sort of point of reference. And the second is that basically the three main markets for embedded finance were payments, credit, and insurance. Okay, and payments being the first one, like embedded payments by far. So the first sort of question or topic of conversation I would like to share with you is this growth delivering the promise? So do you see the market growing? And now, sorry, forgot to say, it's also super important. Now I see the next sort of a forecast, 2025 to 2030. And they say the market is going to grow overall. I haven't seen the details on the different verticals, but between 30 to 40% year on year. So we are in a place growing exponentially fast. Is this growth delivered, or do you see this growth in talking with the clients in the growth that yourself are experiencing, Paolo?
Yeah, interesting, very, very interesting the question, but also I think that the first answer that we did, because at the end, embedded finance is a very flexible concept. So there is so many things within. So you can start from banking as a service, you can start from payments, you can start from insurance, you can start from a platform that is very, very general purpose and so on. But at the end, the point is how to provide financial services in a broader sense. So as you said, payments, insurance, and lending probably are the most interesting in this, or promising in this specific moment, but will be also investment in the future, think about new regulations and so on. But providing this kind of service when and where they are needed. So that's the concept, the real concept, is really making closer and closer the service to the customer. That could be a business customer, that could be a final consumer. In that sense, the size of the market is growing a lot because there is a lot of interest from any kind of companies. In the last couple of years, we have had, we won several tenders, and we have had many occasions to work with companies in insurance sector, automotive sector, utilities sector, large retailers, of course, that have the payments as very pervasive and so on. So the answer is yes, we see incredible interest growing and growing. We cannot really give the right size to the market because I think there will be no more a clear definition of the operator of the embedded finance. So a bank could be an operator of a banking or embedded finance, a platform, a paytech, a banking as a service player, but also a company. For example, in the last year, 2 large utilities from probably among the largest in Europe that we are working with are becoming payment institutions and e-money players. in order to provide embedded finance within their customer base and their customer journey. So it's an incredible transformation that we are seeing in the market. So the answer is yes. I agree that payments is for sure the more pervasive at the moment because it's a sort of backbone. Everything is pay in every moment of our life. As a consumer or as a business, we have occasion to pay or to collect money. And there are many phases in the end-to-end payment value chain that could be optimized and integrated and embedded directly within the customer journey. Think about a large insurance that work with many agents, sub-agents, and many consumers, millions of consumers. So you have the B2C phase, the B2B, many stakeholders, and so on, that you can optimize, that now are very fragmented and silos managed. So a lot of opportunities, and we are seeing this kind of growth. And we also are seeing very positive things, collaboration between players. So we, for example, love to work, to partner with banking as a service players, with banks, with others that can, as Nicolas said, be probably not in the front, providing services, but integrated with something wider in terms of end-to-end platform. So yes, it's happening.
Yeah, totally agree. And I will give some numbers maybe that we see at Swan. But before I do, so I love the way you describe embedded finance, Paolo. And when I talk about embedded finance, I love to give examples just so people understand exactly what it is. And for me, the best example for that is Uber, because you can really imagine what is already done with embedded finance and what can be done in the future. So totally agree with you. Embedded payment, which is a part of embedded finance, is when the payment happens where you want it to happen. And the best example for that is Uber for me. Because when you get out of Uber, you don't think about it. It just happens. And it's a way better experiences than what we had before when the taxi had to make a detour so you could withdraw cash. So now it's transparent. But put yourself in the shoes of the driver. This is where there is really embedded finance, because a taxi must go to a bank, to a branch, and buy or take a POS terminal, a card machine to accept card payments. And with Uber, it's totally embedded into the Uber app for the driver. And so the driver doesn't have even to think about payment. It just happens within the Uber app. So for me, this is a truly embedded payment function. And again, Uber could do much more for the driver. Why not providing them a card so they could pay at the station? Why not offering them a credit so they could buy themselves a car to do their job, and insurance as well? So this is a real example where you can imagine that the best player to offer financial services is not the bank, it's Uber, because they know the drivers better than anyone else. And so in terms of volume and of payment, so we, of course, we don't have the numbers of every payment in Europe, but so we started the platform in 2021, sorry. So at the beginning, we just, of course, had a few payments on it. And today we process a little bit more than 1 billion euro every month with 130 softwares that use us to embed a payment, essentially. So yes, we have seen massive growth of the usage of embedded payment, maybe first. So that's why even if 1 billion euros of payment is nothing, it's only a drop in the volume of European payments, of course. But it really shows that we are just one company, and it really shows that banking services, financial services will be distributed not only by banks in the future, but with an indirect channel by other softwares, services, where it makes more sense to provide banking services.
Nicola, I want to pick on one sentence that you mentioned in a previous answer during your introduction, when you said that any company now can become a fintech, right? And Paolo also mentioned a number of non-financial players that sort of came up with payments or insurance solutions. So my question here is a little bit maybe a side one compared to the question you usually answer to, probably, is when you need to sell to a supermarket chain. Yesterday when we were preparing this call, we mentioned Carrefour. Carrefour potentially, and usually until a few years ago I couldn't talk about Carrefour in Italy, but now there are Carrefours in Italy everywhere. So it's a pretty known, let's say, supermarket chain franchise everywhere in Europe today. And when you talk to Carrefour about, buy now, pay later, or installments payments, or let's say on the electronics, buy an insurance over the counter, all this is embedded finance, right? But my question is, how does it change in terms of consultative sales approach? How do you explain finance to someone who has been until now only selling, online trips, or products over the counter, right? So it's how did you guys have to change the value proposition in even selling your services to the clients? Paolo.
Well, very tough question, because at the end it depends on the industry for sure, and the size of the company is part of the sales process. To me, it's very important to present the value that you can really get from this kind of approach. It's completely different. I give you an example. We are working with a large automotive company in Italy, that is Toyota Financial Services in particular. And when we spoke the first time with them, they in practice had any kind of financial service, because they provide insurance, they provide financing, they manage payments, they of course have all the service around the car. So the concept of the servitization, no? So the car is something where you can build around from payments, financial services, infotainment, and blah, blah, blah. So they have everything. So it's not easy to really enter in this kind of company, say, okay, you can create more value. But when you enter and you start analyzing how they manage these kind of things, they're very fragmented. They have different companies, they are silos, and they are... There is a great difficulty in providing value to the final customer when they have to choose, for example, how to pay, how to get rewarded, how to get financed, and so on. So in that case, very simply, we said, okay, fine, you have everything. We can put everything together in the same platform and do two different things. Reduce costs by a certain percentage, because you can optimize splitting the reconciliation between the stakeholders that you have, so creating a lot of value, and you can create new revenue streams or engagement with your final customer. Think about, you probably know, Toyota is a lot engaged in how to promote hybrid, and so green, electric.
I have one too. I totally know, yes.
Probably started 20 years ago, I don't remember, but many years ago. But think about how to reward the user, the customer, if they use more hybrid. So connecting the data that you have in the platform with the financial services in order to reduce or to improve your financing to give discounting for financing or to reduce the insurance or blah, 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 blah. So a lot of things that you can do if everything is integrated. So the key words to me are three. Of course, embedding in terms of integration, interoperability between parts, and invisibility. Because at the end, everything has to become very seamless and smooth within the process. So I think that there are so many opportunities between a large organization that are so fragmented. They can understand immediately the value if you put together these things. So that's our experience. And very recently, again, utilities, automotive, insurance, retailers, different animals, same needs.
So, Nico, before you step in, I will add a part of the question that you might sort of integrate the answer with, which is you both talk about big size companies, right? So, Uber on one side, Toyota on the other. So is embedded finance an opportunity also for smaller companies? And I talk SMEs, but not super small, but you see what I mean, right? So the couple of 100 million, not the multiple billions type of companies. And Nicola, if you have experience with this, and maybe Paolo, you can integrate later on.
Okay, so Matteo, so I'm not sure. I said myself, every company will become a fintech. Actually, it was a motto coined by Angela Rose in 2020. And because she wrote,
I said it too, and I usually said that I invented it, so it's fine. Don't worry. I also claim that everything becoming fintech, so it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, but no, that's still an interesting read because she wrote an article in 2020, really today. But still, I don't believe that every company will become a fintech. So, for instance, before coming to the office this morning, I bought a croissant to a bakery, and I don't think that this bakery will become a fintech. So what we've seen at Swan is some companies can become a fintech, and so I agree with Paolo. It really depends on some use cases. We see some use cases where it makes a lot of sense to embed finance. So I can just give you one example of this. Before starting Swan an HR, and for that I had an HR software. So I was the one managing, the payment of the salaries. Sometimes some employees came because they wanted to be paid in advance. I was the one managing expenses as well. So sometimes some account executives went abroad to an event and they wanted to be refunded right now. So I had to do it on the spot when they came back. And we have meal voucher cards in France as well. So it's MasterCard card that you give to employees, and they have €6 every day to pay for meal vouchers. And so I had a great software to manage all of this called Luca, and it was great. But each time I had to switch from this software to my bank account, so on my computer, and I probably lost 2 or 3 hours every month on that. And so when we started Swan, the first clients we tried to convince was them saying, hey, you should everything, every payment, salary, payment in advance, expense management should be done directly within Luca. And so they got it, and now it's one of our top 5 clients. So Luca is not Uber, it's not Toyota, it's not a bakery either. It's a software provider. They provide HR software to companies, and this is for us the right spot. But we also have seen some startups with only 1 or 2 developers with a good fintech idea, wanted to embed finance into a software. So let me give you another example. We have some, for instance, software want to become the manager for rental agencies, And so they understood that it makes so much sense for them to become the bank of the retail agencies. And they do it with us. And so it's only a company with, when they started, it was only a company with 5 people. Now they're much more than that. So yeah, maybe every company will use embedded finance, but every company won't become an embedded finance provider. So in order to do that, you need developers, not necessarily 10, just a couple of developers. And you can use banking services through APIs quite easily now today.
It's a very interesting question, and the answer from Nicolas, I think it's absolutely centered. No, the idea is that at the end, embedded finance, again, is this difficult concept, but very easy in practice, because there are so many basic services that you can embed, okay? And you can embed this kind of service for large companies or very small companies. It's more or less the same. I give you an example of one single service that we provide to 3 different kind of customers. Is the concept of the pay by link integrated with invoice, automatically reconciled with invoice in itself. Very simple. You have an invoice, electronic invoice, a link to account payments, automatically reconciled based on rules. Simple. Okay? So we provide it to large organization, a bank, for example, in France, Banque Adel, that want to provide car cadeau, this kind of service to many business customers. We provide the same service to Logista, a large distributor of tobaccos and these kind of things. Again, B2B payments, automatic payment. Hey, as probably Nicolas said, many small software vendors, because at the end, there are not only SAP, or Oracle. There are so many players that provide software to small businesses. In that case, they manage invoices. In that case, they have to automatize the reconciliation of the payments for these companies. And you can do it with the same service. So at the end, when I said it's very pervasive, it will grow a lot in the future because it's simple to integrate when you understand the value. So that's the situation that we see in the market.
Okay, guys, last question, going broader than embedded finance. And this question this topic is inspired by the fact that you're both entrepreneurs. In the case of Nicola, you have, it's not your first rodeo, as we say, and Paolo comes from, we both come from a corporate world. We became entrepreneur. And, having a conversation the other day with, a guy that is also like a fellow speaker in different conferences, and he's in the talent space, right? And we were saying there is no better time historically to be an entrepreneur in finance than today. And the reason is that 10 years ago, to start a company in finance, you need to spend a lot of money in software, in understanding regulation, in figuring out how to deliver the service. And today, with a couple of $1,000, you can actually have, a service or a financial service that is scaling properly, that starts little, but has already, all the proper configuration to deliver the service you want to deliver. And I think that embedded finance has a lot of credit for this, right? Because it's one of the ways that you can set up, even being a non-financial service company or a startup, typically, a service that 10 years ago was way more complicated to build. Would you agree or not? Is this the best time to be a fintech entrepreneur or not?
Matteo, I couldn't agree more. And I'm happy you said that, because actually, this is why we built Swan. And I'm not kidding. When we started to build Swan with my co-founders, really our goal was that a developer with a good fintech idea could wake up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and go on our website, read the documentation, understand what needs to be done, and start to build. And in the morning, it's done. I have my idea, and so I can even go to the same bakery and pay my croissant with the card I've just issued and put on my Apple wallet, and pay for the first time with my card. So we wanted that. When you think about it, it's very complex to build, but it's not that much complex to understand. We all know how cards work, how payments work. We use it every day. And so we try to simplify everything for the developers and for the builders. So totally agree with what you said, because of course we're not the only one to do that. It's probably, I would not say the best time, but the easiest time to build fintechs.
Paolo, glad you agree.
Yeah, my answer is I agree with some comment on that. The first one, for sure, is the best moment if you compare to 10 years ago. It's not the easiest moment if you compare to 3-4 years ago. Because 3-4 years ago was probably the best moment to raise money. But if you see yourself as a company, as a fintech, in the long term, that's the best moment to build something sustainable, because you have a lot of services that you can integrate. A good way to raise money, so to fund your company in terms of in the path of future profitability. And I think there are also very good conditions to partner with others and to combine with others. So I see a future of the next 5 years with a lot of integration, combination, and collaboration. And fintechs, good fintechs, will become very relevant in the financial sector, not only in the fintech sector. Very, very relevant. So that's the future for me.
Okay, guys, so our time is up. We will talk about other topics during our panel. We will be joined by Solaris and possibly by another brand that we can't name right now. I will anticipate that I want to also talk about emerging markets. You see there is a huge Africa map behind me, because that's my continent of predilection. I want to talk about the relationship between financial inclusion and embedded finance, which is a segue of maybe what we just talked about. This is a wrap up. Don't forget to stay with us for the Fintech Groove with Mr. Castelnuovo. And for now, Paolo and Nico, I see you in the Fintech Summit in Milan very soon. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks a lot, Matteo. Thanks a lot, Paolo.
Thank you, Nicolas. Bye.
Fintech Groove, on the tracks of an innovation that leaves its mark. The new podcast column powered by Milan Fintech Summit and Breaking Banks Europe. Hosted by Matteo Castelnuovo. Welcome to this new episode of Fintech Groove. Today we want to talk about the new financial possibilities offered by the fintech solutions to micro and small businesses all around Europe and United Kingdom, which today struggle to find an ally for growth in traditional banks. To talk about this today, we are glad to have with us Denis Güven, Executive Board Member of Wamo. Hello, Denis, and thanks to be with us.
Hi, Matteo. Thank you very much for having me today.
So then it's before starting to talk about Wamo and also the situation of fintech solutions in Europe, we just want to know something more about you, your relationship with fintech world, and how you started to work in this sector.
Sure. Thank you, Matteo. I'm an ex-banker. My background is banking. So I worked for many banks. And I spent more than 23 years in banking industry. And I worked for big banks like BBVA, Standard Chartered, HSBC. I was a global head in Singapore, for Standard Chartered. And luckily, I had the chance, to build a bank in Hong Kong. So I was the founder, CEO of Mox Bank in Hong Kong, which is a fully licensed bank. We obtained the license in 2018. After that, actually, I have, FE funds, mainly focusing on the digital assets and financial fintechs. My only focus is, fintechs and financial services in general. And of course, Wamo is one of the most important, in our portfolio. I'm a board member of, Wamo, and I try to, help, Wamo day to day. And especially, what we are going to discuss in a minute is Italy and the new market.
So under this point of view, we would like to know more about the business of Wamo and how was the company's beginning. So in terms to understand what is the aim of its activity today, but also what are the obstacles that maybe you, not only in terms of manager, but also in terms of company, obviously have overcome until now in order also to help companies to get success in the market.
Sure. Let me start, from Wamo. Actually, Wamo, as you mentioned briefly, Wamo is a UK-based, fintech, focusing on, SMEs and solving, the problems of the companies in different sizes. And we operate, UK, also, entire Europe. We have, customers, from 16 different, countries right now. And honestly, even today, as you mentioned, we just started, our focus to Italy recently. However, 10% of our customer base is from Italy. So this is extremely important. This shows us, a lot, in terms of the needs are coming, from the market. Honestly, I really want to start, from the obstacles, right? Because obstacles, pain points, they always, define the real solutions, instead of, focusing on, the solutions. When you look at, the markets, in general, but also, for Italy as well, I mean, for SMEs, there are a few, problems. The main problem is if you are opening a new company, right? There are tons of, micro SMEs. Just last year, 400,000 new micro companies, opened in Italy. So it's a huge number, which means, because all these, micro entities, they will help the economy and they will create a huge impact in the economy. So as a result, we have to be, super helpful, to all these, new entities. The first part is, of course, opening a bank account. In Wamo, for example, if you apply, for a bank account, which is Wamo is a business account, for the companies, when you apply, you can finish the application literally in 5-6 minutes, maximum 6 minutes. And then you can take your answer, positive or negative, because, depending on your company, but you can take your answer, latest, at the same time. So this is a great thing, because I'm sure, I'm not only talking about Italy, but in general, companies, they have a lot of, difficulties to open a bank account. Sometimes, we hear, in some markets, people, they wait for 6 weeks to open a bank account for their companies. And what is the most important thing, for the companies? They want to open a bank account, get an IBAN, get an account, and receive money and do the payments. Because this is the real commerce, right? To do the real commerce, to start the real commerce, we have to help these companies, immediately. The second thing is, of course, we are seeing, a lot of, slow processes. in generally, when we look at banking, I know, the big banks, they focus on different segments, at the same time. But in Wamo, what we do is actually, we focus only these companies, and we try to personalize, the solutions, as much as possible, because lack of personalization is also very difficult. Each business is vitally important for us, and the same importance level. It's not about the segmentation, for the companies. Okay, how much revenue you will do next year? If you are going to do more than 1 million, you are a good customer. Or if you are going to do less than 100,000, you are a bad customer. This shouldn't be the right segmentation for the companies. We have to understand their business with the right personalization, with the right technology, onboard them, and help them accordingly. I think this is the main differentiator when you look at this market and how you can help the customers. And of course, the third one, credit eligibility for all these companies, because all these companies, they are new, or they are trying to grow, because even if you are a small company, you need to grow. To grow, you have to create the right cash flow. And cash flow is totally related, to find the right, credit line. And honestly, we are seeing, a lot of, barriers and difficulties, to reach the right, credit lines or credit eligibilities. To do that, again, the technology, for example, Wamo is, working on it right now, specifically, for Italy. How can we, solve these problems with, instead of using a traditional data, using alternative data, using different data points to help these companies in terms of cash flows. I think these are, in a nutshell, three very important pain points that we need to solve everywhere.
But according to you, today, if you needed to focus on one and one, what could be the most important chance for a company to catch from the usage of technology, and also from the emerging technology, or for the data analytics, for example, as you said before? And what is the most important challenge to face, or priority to consider?
The challenges, honestly, for the companies, I think that if you look at, the things, of course, they want to do everything, cost effective. In general, we need to, help, all these companies, to make them, more cost effective. And to do that, of course, cash flow management, accounting, tax, all these things, it comes, like an ecosystem. Because what we believe, when we set up a company, Matteo, I'm sure, when you set up a company, we share the same feelings, right? We have a dream. And to make it happen, of course, you need to look at, the entire process. I think, in a summary, we can talk about, different things, but can I help you, in the accounting system? For example, in Wamo, accounting systems are integrated, embedded. So you do not need to think about another accounting solution. You can see everything together. You can look at everything together. At the same time, if you need something, you can see on the cash flow, and Wamo is ready to help in a different way, with different products.
So usually when we talk about fintech and financial technologies, services or solutions, we talk often about, artificial intelligence, cloud, emerging technologies. But starting from what you said now, maybe the real aim to all this process is to get more humanity, so to follow the dream of the companies and help them also to understand their vision and their dream before of their economy. But they have a dream, and they maybe know the market, and so this is the aim of the technological applications in this sense. Could it be the real aim of the process now?
That absolutely. To be honest, I know AI is a very interesting topic for everyone today, but also we need to understand that how are we going to use the AI. But at the same time, I think you touch a very important point. when I look at, the fintechs globally, I think I have more than 20 fintech investments in 6-7 different jurisdictions. The curse of a fintech or a startup is mainly growth. I mean, it's a two-sided sword, right? I mean, two-edged sword. You need to be careful. Of course, we want to grow, but at the same time, while you are growing, you miss your customer. I mean, you need to understand that there's someone real, not someone just a company with the statistics, with the numbers. These are not numbers. These are people. These are the lives that we are trying to touch. So as a part of it, I mean, the human touch in the business is still extremely important. For example, in Wamo, when you open an account, even while you are opening it, someone calls you. And to be honest, even in the different scales, we want to continue like this. Normally, it's not very scalable way of doing this, but all the Wamo customers, they are extremely happy. Why? Because I mean, they know that there's someone there if they need to talk. I mean, again, of course, these are the things that you need to think on the cost side. But it's not important, as long as you give the high quality service with AI, with the different technologies, but at the same time, the combination of human touch, that's the game changer.
So it's needed to have someone who can explain us also the data and advise us also on how to use them in the best way possible to grow. And we think is really, really important as a message to share, because as we said, sometimes the technology takes all the focus, but it is not the only thing important in the business. And so thank you for your spotlight on this, and we hope to talk soon again with you.
Thank you very much, Matteo.
And Guy, this is a wrap.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with Fintech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.